Broadway Bound Live is a televised musical theater competition show that follows a group of young Broadway hopefuls through a semester of training in 8 rounds of elimination to produce a musical theater champion. The winner will also receive a $60,000 scholarship to AMDA College of Performing Arts in New York. Executive Director of Katharsis Media, Candice Neu, is here today to tell us more. Candice, thank you for joining us today
Thank
to
you so much
talk
for
more
having
about your
me.
show. So, I love that you're like pretty much bringing Broadway to New Mexico. So tell us about Broadway Bound Live.
Sure. So Broadway Bound Live is a televised musical theater competition show. It's in the realm of reality TV. It follows a group of low-income young adults through 16 weeks of training, 8 rounds of elimination, and the final 4 finalists will receive scholarships between $40,000 and $60,000 to go to AMDA College of the Performing Arts in New York City.
So, I mean, any show's a big undertaking. What came about creating this one?
You know, what's really crazy is that, so this is season 2 of the production, and season 1 was actually really interesting because I just started my business, Katharsis Media, and I'd been kind of around, you know, the film industry for a super long time. And so I actually ran into a kiddo on a film set one day, and he wasn't a kid. He was like, I don't know, 18, you know, a kid, you know, a kid, but an adult child. And so he was on a film set, and he was doing background work, and I was just talking to him, whatever, and he said that he was trying to make $30,000 that summer doing background so that he could go to AMDA College of Performing Arts in New York City, actually. It was actually that school. And I knew how much background actors got paid. And I was like, baby, you can't make that much money. And by the way, that was just the gap that he had for 1 year. And I was like, well, what are you going to do next year? He's like, you're trying to do this every summer? This isn't going to work. And so I was like, yeah. So I did call up a lot of the local theaters, but it wasn't really, you know, something that they could do in that amount of time. You know, he needed it like now. And so I was really sad, but I was a high school theater teacher. And so I kept, you know, doing my thing. And so I decided that the better thing to do with my time would be to stop teaching and to open up a nonprofit that would provide professional level training in the performing arts. And that's how Katharsis Media came about. And I wanted to do things in a really weird sort of way. And so I really wanted to do intensive things. And so we were starting off with a musical theater camp that literally was 5 days. It was 5 days a week, 3 weeks long. And they were there from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. They worked with vocal coaches twice a day, and they had dance lessons and acting lessons. And my goal was to like push them through growth, right? So I actually got a phone call, and it was from my good friend Laura Dale. And she's a Hollywood Foley artist and has an incredible Hollywood resume. She said, Candice, I know you have ideas. I need content. And I'm like, Laura, I opened my business 2 months ago, and I got this weird camp going on. I got 7 kids in a camp. It was crazy. And she's like, yeah, I know you have ideas. And I said, okay, well, I was watching Hell's Kitchen last week with my niece, and I was thinking this would be a really great idea, but, you know, for musical theater. And at the end, you know, these kids would get a giant scholarship to like a performing arts school, right? And I had learned very quickly after I stopped teaching that it wasn't just about the training. There was a gap in training, certainly. My thought was like, I started an organization to provide professional training in the performing arts. They're going to get better scholarships, right? And so it was designed for low-income kids, or, you know, people, not kids. But and what I learned very quickly was that the largest scholarship that they gave at that time was $16,000. So if you add 16 plus all the financial aid you can take out and your Pell Grant, you're still sitting at about a $30,000 gap, which is exactly where that kid was at, that I had met, you know, 3-4 years before that on that film set.
Yeah.
And I gave this idea to Laura over the phone, the Hell's Kitchen thoughts, and she was like, let's do it. And I'm like, what? She's like, let's do it. And I'm like, oh my God. So I got off the phone and I hung up. I looked at me, I was like, so we're making a TV show. And at about 3 o'clock in the morning in the middle of July, so we started like, you know, planning, right? And about 2-3 months later, middle of the night, I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Like, I have this, I'm going to make this TV show, but I don't even have a prize. Like, what? I'm just going to be like, oh, it's kids, come hang out.
We have a show.
Right? And it's like, oh, you can be on TV and you can get voice lessons. And we were going to give private voice lessons, group dance, group acting lessons, which was great, but no prize. So I'm like, for what? I don't know what you're competing for. Eliminations for what? I don't know. And so I, thought about that kid and I said, I'm going to email AMDA. And so I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and I wrote a very eloquent email to Jonathan Warbay, who was the director of admissions at that time. And I heard nothing.
I was just waiting for nothing.
I know, nothing. And then about 2 weeks later, I got an email that said, we're very excited. Let's talk. And I mean, this was like before the pandemic, right? So like there wasn't like Zoom, like I was like, do I download Skype? Like that's that weird? Like I'm not flying to New York. What am I doing? Oh my God. So I sent some slides and then I'm like, well, how are we doing? It's just a phone call. And so I call and he answers the phone and I'm expecting like a group. I don't know. Yeah. And it's just him and it's just a phone call. And I sent slides and so I was all nervous and I just start talking and I'm like, okay. And I'm like working through these slides. Excuse me. I'm sorry. And he stops me about 5 minutes and he's like, I'm just going to interrupt you. And I was like, oh God. And he's like, I'm just going to tell you what we're going to give you. And I'm like, you're going to give me something? Like, oh my God, right? Like, this is amazing.
Much better than
I know, this is great. Okay, great. So he said, we're going to give you a director's scholarship. It's not quite a full ride. He said that the student would have to take out whatever financial aid that they would be given, through the federal government, including student loans. However, anything above and beyond that, they would pay for. Room and board, housing, all of it. And so I was like, it wasn't great, but it was what they needed. It was the gap, right? And so that was in 2019, and we put up our first season. We sent a kid named Corbin Mejia off to New York City. He's the one who won. In season 2, we got a scholarship or a grant from the Urban Enhancement Trust Fund, which allowed us to provide scholarships for private voice, group dance, and group acting lessons for the entire 16 weeks for the entire cast, which is 14 contestants this season. And so this season we have 14 contestants. We're in the finale. So they've competed through dance challenges and vocal challenges and improv challenge. They did a runway show. They've done all kinds of things.
Wow.
They are in round 8, and we're kind of it's the finale. So for the finale round, we produce an original musical. This is a new show. It's called You're a Catch, Why Are You Single? And it's a musical written by a young woman named Sarah Winan. She is out of Australia. And it is about the woes of online dating. Ooh. So I think it's perfect for this crowd.
Yeah.
And for anybody, let's be honest.
Yep.
Like, I mean, everybody's on those apps now, which is, and it's just like, and so it's hilarious. Sometimes, there are some heartbreaking moments as well. And there's a beautiful story involved. So it is the production of an original musical. It'll be May the 20th and 21st. And it's an 8-person musical, so we're down to 8.
Wow.
And 4 of those 8 will be going to New York City this year. And it's not a director's scholarship. It is a pure, complete scholarship. We also are having a workshop with Hamilton. The cast of Hamilton is coming out. And so that's going to come out, or they're going to come out and they're going to work with our cast. And it is an open workshop. We will be able to take 45 additional people, and it's free of charge. So they're going to come out, and so you guys can be looking out for that as well. It's going to be a great week. That'll be May the 18th. And then sometime on, I believe, the 20th, there'll be another masterclass by the AMDA, or the AMDA representative that's going to come out. And I don't know who that is just yet. So we're going to find out.
Goodness, so much stuff packed into an idea for one show. So May 20th through the 21st is when the musical will happen.
It's at the National Hispanic Cultural Center. They've been sponsoring our entire show, which is fabulous. So they're coming out. And it'll be really awesome. I also want to give a shout out to Diamond Elite Luxury Homes. They are housing our out-of-state contestants. So there are 5 of them living in a house called the Broadway Bound Live House. And that's been a whole different adventure this season too.
Wonderful. Well, where can people learn more about the show?
They can visit our website at www.katharsismedia.org/Broadway Bound Live. It's right there on the bottom of your screen. You can also, follow me on social media. Follow us on Instagram at Broadway Bound Live. And that's, there's contestants who are posting every day. They're creating blogs and they're posting all over social media every day. It's amazing. So you can kind of follow their journey. It's a great thing. And then eventually the season will be released. So right now we're filming, which is really interesting. And then we'll have to actually release the season photography wise. So if you come out and be part of our live studio audience, you will have to be quiet about some things. But come and join us and vote. The audience gets to vote.
Well, congratulations on
Thank you
everything.
so much.
And thank you for coming by and telling us more about it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This is beautiful.
Wonderful. We'll be back.